I must say, everywhere I walk in the streets, everyone just can't wait for this podcast to get going on the Monday morning.
Our scrum got dominated. Our line-out got dominated. Our kicking game under pressure wasn't good enough.
All Blacks made small mistakes, and we capitalised.
Everything they touched turned to gold. I mean, they weren't 33 points better.
We were under pressure with our defence in that first half.
I've never seen a team so emotional, so fired up.
We're going to the Northern Hemisphere at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're coming, brother.
It's coming.
Too hard. I've just united you two accidentally, haven't I?
Right, welcome to Rivals, and I think Vicky, you're in quite a good mood, are you?
It's game day, and I've got my white glasses on, which means I'm confident. So, you're probably going to sleep right now, and when you wake up, you'll be ready for that test match. All Blacks by 10, friend. All Blacks by 10.
Yes, Sir John, they only got 10. But that was 10 good points. Not too bad for a first half.
Victor. It's an outstanding performance by the Springboks, and I got it completely wrong. So I'm just going to fess up very early. I thought that the second half was one of the best 40 minutes of rugby I've seen from a rugby team. So, well done, man. That was awesome. That was awesome. I think from an All Black point of view, when you look at that balance that you've been trying to find probably over the last part of the championship, and I didn't think you were going to find it. I was hoping you wouldn't find it, but you found it in the second half. So well done, mate. That was an awesome performance. You must be incredibly proud. Obviously, I'm gutted, absolutely gutted, but I'm also really positive too, mate, to be honest. So, yeah, you'd have to be stoked with that performance.
Hey, JK, can we let the winner talk?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hello, Andrew. Nice to have you on. I think what a performance. I think we actually started putting the pressure on in the first half. 2 tries that didn't count. Just a different mindset. I think if you look back at the championship, if you look back at that first 40 minutes or 30 minutes against Australia at Ellis Park, there was something happening, and then that second half, we just got things wrong, and we went completely conservative again. And I think with the new, younger players in the back line, they were just ready to play. And I think with the forward dominance that we had, I think the physicality of the pack was just unbelievable. And with that forward domination and, the dry weather, it really gave those younger backs an opportunity. I say younger, but there's still a few guys. A guy like Damian Willemse has won 2 World Cups. Yes, he hasn't played a lot at 12, but we all knew, listen, this guy's got potential. And all of a sudden, I think it's his first start at 12, and we've all said he's at 12. And he was fantastic. Kanan Moody as well, I think 13 is his position. We've said that for quite a while. He gets opportunity, he uses it. So, fantastic win. I must say, everywhere I walk in the streets, everyone just can't wait for this podcast to get going on the Monday morning. They're really enjoying it. And but again, we saw against Australia in that second half at Ellis Park. We know the margins in rugby is this little. And luckily for us in that second half, yes, we did put on the pressure. All Blacks made small mistakes, and we capitalised. So I think a great performance by the Springboks, but I think someone like Rusty also said it. We mustn't get ahead of ourselves. I was in a team where we lost 49-0 against Australia in 2006, and a year later we won the World Cup. So you get games like that where all of a sudden things just don't go right. But I must say, after that game, we made 2-3 big changes in the team as well, and that was almost the beginning of a successful run.
Trimby, you're the level head here. You're the unemotional one. How did you see the game playing out?
First of all, very, very good strategically from JK to jump on straight, get your voice in early, and be very complimentary in an attempt to disarm Victor, who's in celebration mode. I think you just took the edge off him a little bit. You added a little bit of humility, which was very clever. Victor, I intend to agree with what you said. Yes, it was an unbelievable performance in that second half. They were kind of building towards the end of the first half after that initial kind of purple patch of from the All Blacks. But I mean, they weren't 33 points better. You know, it was just in this game, the margins are fine. And when it rains, it pours, or the rich get richer, you know, and they built up that momentum and then they just became a juggernaut by the end of the game. And I just felt like, yeah, that balance that JK is talking about, they got that balance right and everything fell into place. I love Damien Willemse. I asked you a couple of weeks ago whether Willemse, Fassi, if they can do what Willie Leroux does. And the answer was kind of no. You know, he does something unique, but I think now, I know he had 12 on his back, but he moved to 15 like towards the end of the first half. He played most of the game at 15 and he looked absolutely brilliant. He's so physical. His offloading game, him and Ethan Hooker have been tearing up the URC for a couple of years now. Everything they touch turned to gold. And it's nice to see them both doing it for the Springboks, because that injection of youth and enthusiasm, Tony Brown obviously kind of bringing in that expansive play and getting that balance of being physical. Yeah, like the perfect example of it was the scrum. The scrum that just went in reverse from the All Blacks perspective. Pick and go Khaleesi was like Usain Bolt sprinting up the middle of the pitch, and then it's plain sailing from there, fling it to the backs, and they're going to score. So that kind of summed it up a little bit. There's a bit of everything from South Africa, and if they continue to get that balance and be as effective as they are, they're going to be hard to beat.
JK, are we in trouble?
Well, firstly, which side are you on, Ricardo?
Like, I'm the moderator.
Are you?
Yeah. So,
well, which side are you on then?
I'll answer that question.
I just want to ask, Ricardo. We sat here last week and we looked at the South African team and we said, listen, this is the end of an era. It's the guys getting too old. And I went through the team and I said, listen, they can pick these guys. They're younger. They're already on 30 test matches, but they almost second string, but young guys waiting to get an opportunity. And we gave that opportunity. And with the All Blacks, we haven't seen that. It's pretty much the same 23, 25, maybe one or two changes. Do you think they've got the ability now, and will they have a look at it just to see? Listen, if you look at the 10-15 combination, they've played Bowden and what's the little fullback together for a few times. That McKenzie, and somehow it just feels like it doesn't work. Is there other combinations that they can throw in and say, listen, let's take a chance. Let's give some other younger kids an opportunity.
So, Victor, you know how you spoke about that 48-point loss, then you won the World Cup the next year. I was at North Harbour a few years ago when the team lost by the same amount. So I think when you look at it, the trouble is, like, when you lost against us last week and we spoke about it, you know, we challenged because the team lost. It came down to individual errors. The trouble is with New Zealand, and I've been talking to everyone, I've been traveling around the country today. Like, the trouble is with the performance in the second half is normally we'd come away and say we didn't catch the high ball, we lost. But our scrum got dominated, our line-out got dominated, our high ball wasn't good enough, our kicking game under pressure wasn't good enough. So all of a sudden you got 5 things and the whole country started panicking. But for me, I'm actually quite excited about it because I think this is a moment in time where there's a disconnect, I believe, of a small percentage, like you said, Trimby, between the coaching staff, the players, and the leaders, right? That needs to be resolved. I think out of adversity comes a good rugby team. And that doesn't get any worse than that. Losing at home by imagine and an South African side that you are struggling to actually dominate or have a performance in the last 4 or 5 years. So there's a couple of things that worry me. Are the leaders stepping up during the game, and have they been in this moment enough to go, look, we're down 10 points, and 10 points is when you obviously start pushing stuff because you know that if it goes any further. So what are we doing under pressure? That's the first thing. Okay, what are we doing under pressure when we're in that moment where you've got to win the game back? The second thing for me is, are the coaches thinking about the game and delivering it to the players so that they can play the game, or are the coaches possibly doing too much so that our leaders on the field are not living those moments? Selection-wise, Victor, and I think when you look at our team, I think it's the best team we've got out there. Do you put Rico back to centre because he's the best defensive centre we have? Do we think about putting Geordie Barrett back to fullback so that we can have a really solid kicking game? Because if you're Australia now, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a really good high ball kicking game? Of course you are. Of course you are, because we were really poor there. So I think this is a hell of a crisis, but I think it's a crisis that we need. I think Razor Robertson will go away, and you don't lose how good you are in a week, right, Victor? You don't do that. And these moments, I think, are really, really important for us because we need to address some stuff, and we need to address it really, really quickly because this Aussie side is coming to Eden Park, and we've still got that to do. So do we have a young team? Would you change stuff out? My answer to that question, Victor, is no. Does everybody need to look in the mirror, the leaders, the coaches, and say, what we've been doing might not be good enough. We need to improve by 5% to get back on the horse. I think we'll get that reaction. I think it's the inconsistency under pressure that we need to address. So that's what we need to do. We need to go back to the drawing board. I would do a couple of changes. I don't think Artie is as dominant in the game when he plays 7. So do we need to look to put him in a different role? Can you remember him carrying the ball in the last 2 test matches 5 or 6 times like he used to? So is that the balance of our loose forwards, right? So I think you've got to look at the whole and go, this is a warning sign. Are we good enough? Yes. Do we need to panic? No. Do we need to look in the mirror? We need to ask some hard questions, which Russie's been doing through this whole series, right? We spoke about how Russie continued to change the side. I thought it was a positive and a negative. On the other side, we spoke about Razor not changing the side. So some of those guys that came on, for example, our young hooker, he comes on to a situation in the biggest test match, we don't need to make a mistake, and that line out fails, you guys score. Those are moments you have to live, but we need to get better in that area of the game because there's no way an All Black team should capitulate like that.
JK,
So there's lots.
I just want to come in here as well. Sorry, and I want to ask Andrew this. I mean, if you looked at the game in that second half, they kept on kicking off to the left-hand side of the field. Ethan Hooker was winning back all those balls. They're sitting with Will Jordan. He's on the right wing. He's probably their best catcher under the high ball. Don't you change it around, or even change him and Damien McKenzie around and say, listen, well, let's get you in this position. We don't want Ethan Hooker is probably 2 heads taller than McKenzie. Don't you change that around and say, listen, we've got our best eyeball catcher not catching the ball, and South Africa is winning all those back, and that's giving them momentum. It's almost the same as the Argentina loss, where they lost all those high balls and the straps went to Argentina.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it comes down. So, like Will Jordan, for example, I know he had a big moment last week, but this week he was quiet, and probably by his standards, usually New Zealand have big moments, and those big moments come from someone like him, or there was a big moment from Wallace Satiti, or he kind of finds a way to bring someone else into the game. Those big moments all went to Cheslin Colby, Ethan Hooker, Damien McKenzie. They won those big moments. I don't know. Like, they only get the chance to execute those big moments because their pack are dominant. They bring off the bomb squad 1 minute in the second half, which that doesn't quite make any sense to me. Maybe you can shine some light on that. What the strategy is around that? Why don't they just bring them on at halftime? But then they get that dominance up front, and then they get that surge, and that brings them into the game, the big opportunities. Obviously, Cheslin Colby created his own opportunity with the intercept and probably give South Africa a lifeline. That game could be totally different if he knocks that ball on, he gets in the passing channel, gets a yellow card like we saw Australia get against Argentina. And again, Victor, it kind of plays on those fine margins. If you get those things right, those big moments in the game, like Jordie Barrett came up with a big, huge play with a chip through. Colby regathered it and went over, and Jordie Barrett just dislodged the ball. But the rest of the big moments all went to South Africa, and it comes down to those moments, and they took those moments, and that's the difference. But yeah, thinking on their feet, put it onto Will Jordan makes perfect sense. It just feels like South Africa thought through those moments and they created the opportunity to create them.
That's actually, Victor, I'll answer that question. That's the leadership that I'm talking about. I would expect the leaders on the field to make those decisions. Now, it might not be part of the game plan, but that's when I think you've got mature leaders that have the confidence to go, we're just going to change. And I think that loss on Sunday will take a look at the whole package. What are we doing as coaches to make sure that under pressure, our players have the confidence to change or do things differently, right? And so the answer for me is it's a coach leadership thing, and you've got to create those moments to say, this is not working. What's alternative B and C? And I think if we don't learn from that this week, and I think you highlighted a point, and this is the whole thing. I think, if you've had the same problem against Argentina, then you have the same problem against South Africa in the second half. Then you need to start thinking about selection to nullify that. So is that Geordie Barrett back to fullback? No disrespect to Damien, no disrespect to the guys there, because he's 1.95 m and he gets in the air, right? So when I talk about this being a moment in time for this team, we need to come out of this adversity and be so much better around our leadership, around what we're doing on the field, about the ability to change, right? And possibly playing some of those guys. And this is what we thought last year on the Northern Tour. Some of the guys that are coming on after a couple of injuries don't have the experience. How would you feel if you were our young hooker that came on and you're throwing into a line out 5 meters from our line and you don't nail it? And people say, well, why'd they put him on? You've got to be good enough to nail it. But have you practiced that? Have you put this young guy who's the third hooker into that situation? So that's what I think we need to get better at.
So can I ask you, Victor, how do you compare the situation? Because at the end of the day, this is a drawn series. You won one, we won one. But the difference is that when you lost, you went to plan B, completely changed your team, played in a different style, and destroyed the All Blacks. Do the All Blacks have that ability? I mean, do they have the ability to go to plan B? Do they have the ability to bring a whole new team in?
Yeah, that's a question I've been asking because we haven't seen them. I mean, in that era when Dan Carter, Richie McCaw, when they won the 2 World Cups, you could play against New Zealand and they do put out a B team and it's almost just as strong. I think that's where South Africa is at the moment. And if we talk about a team like Leinster, they can do the same. So all the really strong teams got that kind of depth where if there's 1 or 2 key guys out, they don't panic because there was other games where those guys got opportunities. So I know last week we were talking, is it the right thing to play as many guys? Is it good that no one knows who's number 1? But somehow it's working for South Africa. But just for South Africa at the moment, we talk about the different style. I think probably one of the biggest influence or guys that had influence was Jasper Wiese coming back. I thought he was immense. He was pretty close to man of the match as well. I had a look at his stats yesterday. I think he had 23 carries, 38 post-contact meters made, and he was just unbelievable. And you need someone like that in your back. I mean, he never gives a step back. He's almost like a Dwayne Vermeulen, a Bakkies Botha. He just never gives a step back. And I mean, for him to put us on the front foot, and then he gives energy to everyone around him. And that just gave us momentum, and that gave the backs the opportunity to play on the front foot as well. So I thought Jasper were huge. A guy like Satiti did it last year for New Zealand. He was outstanding last year when he came in. He's pretty quiet so far. We don't see those big carries. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see what the New Zealand guys do.
One thing, JK, just I know like a couple of suggestions you've made there. I know we're just having this conversation, but put Artie Savea back to 8, get him get his hands on the ball more often, be more thoughtful, more strategic around the kicking game. I would argue both of those they're like responding to like South Africa saying this is the way we respond, this is the way we play rugby. Now this is the way rugby's played. But New Zealand will be a different solution. We all know New Zealand play a unique brand of rugby. They probably maybe don't have the ability for like South Africa have demonstrated go physical, go confrontational, go direct, go set piece oriented, and then fling the ball wide, and they've got backs who can do damage as well. It feels like New Zealand have to stretch the opposition. They got to move, especially when they're playing South Africa, move that South African pack around. For me, that's, like early in the game, it was a different narrative. When you made your video, JK, it was the universe looked very, very different. We had like Tupavai, like just tipping the ball on, Parker tipping the ball on, like guys getting their hands on the ball, moving the ball around. That's something I'm not sure South Africa have that up front. Now, Snyman, I would argue Snyman needs to start every game. Victor, tell me I'm wrong, but when he comes on early, he's easily got 60, 70 minutes in him, no problem. But he's the only one who does that, adds that skill set. The rest of them are just big, physical, confrontational, get over someone, win collisions physically. It feels like New Zealand, Wallace Atiti, I don't think you can move him from 8 because he's got something about him. He's got the ability to bring guys in, tip in, side, outside, look for offloads. He's a ball player. I think that needs to kind of encompass the rest of this All Blacks pack more, embrace that, and play the way they played for that first 15, 20 minutes.
Let me answer that for you, Trimby, because I think it's a really good point. But if you think about the first half, I thought we were absolutely outstanding at times. We looked amazing. We got around the Springbok defence. I thought the Colby intercept was a really critical moment because you need to create pressure, right? And what South Africa did is they created pressure, but we created as much pressure in the first half, right? We score that try, we go ahead by 14 points or whatever it is. The pressure changes. But I'm saying that Artie's not getting the ball. So what are we doing in our attack setup to give him the ball, right? Is it someone else getting the ball? Do we swap that round? You don't necessarily swap him from 7 to 8, but if that means that that's how we play and the number 8's carrying the ball more, maybe we need to do that. What you need to do with South Africa is you need to diffuse their strengths. If you can't catch the first 4 high balls, then you are really playing into South African DNA's arms, right? If you don't get off your defensive line and tackle these guys over the contact line, then they get a roll on. So I'm not saying our solutions are play the game that we played in the first half, right? But when we get put under pressure, what do we do to get back to playing our style to put South Africa under pressure? I felt in the first half, there was a couple of those moments that, I call it cheating, where you go down and slow the game up, right? There were a couple of those moments there where I thought, South Africa under pressure. If we can score here, we'll get them. What happened, though, was we're not having the ability to get people back to playing the game we want to play because we're not nailing some of those moments, right? We're not getting Artie the ball in his hands so he can get over the advantage line. We're not catching the high ball. Our kicking game, I believe, when we're under pressure, we need to look at that. Do we need to do more kick passes? The little chip over the top is not working. What is our attacking kicking game to put South Africa off their game? That's my problem, right? So we know what South Africa's going to bring, and they were outstanding. We've always said, if they bring this balance of like the forwards getting ahead and these backs that they've got, everyone's in trouble. But what we're not doing is flicking that. So South Africa came out, their first 15 minutes was amazing. We didn't then go, this is what we need to do. Let's kick off the other way. Like, let's get Artie the ball with this move. Let's go wide again. What we did is we dropped the high ball, gave it back to South Africa, made mistakes, let them get in the game. Like, went back to, I think we did one short line out and got pummeled. We threw one over the back. So all those things we can't afford to do if we want to establish our game and enforce it on South Africa. What happened to us is they enforced their game onto New Zealand and we capitulated.
Victor,
so that's what I'm talking about.
You must have been really happy, Victor, with the set piece of South Africa.
Yeah, I thought especially in the first half and then the first scrum just after halftime when the bomb squad came on, the scrum really looked good. I actually thought the New Zealand, when they put on their reserve props, it was a different game at scrum time. They actually looked really good. Line out started off slowly, lost that line out 5 meters from the line again, and then another one. But then we got into it. I think once Ruan got confident, it was good. And then all of a sudden we contested. I mean, it's probably the first clean win on a contesting line out that we won, and we scored off that. So I think set piece was really good. I mean, our scrum's always been good. I'm a big Wilco Low fan, and somehow it's working. It hasn't worked when he started, and you would actually think he's a starter and a Thomas the Toy because he's more mobile will probably be better off the bench. But somehow when Wilco came on, it's 2 weeks in a row now where he comes on and he gives that big scrum and we score that. So the impact is definitely working. And yeah, and like Andrew is saying, I think RG is also showing the guys that he brings a physicality, he brings something different in the team, a carrying ability. And maybe it's time to play him a bit longer, not just to play him in the last 30 minutes. His impact was huge. I mean, that offloads when he carries. I mean, if he's close to the line, yes, he didn't count. But if he's close to the line, no one can stop him. He's just such a big, strong man. So, yeah, a few nice things there. But, yeah, the set piece and the way how he dominated the game line was unbelievable. And I couldn't understand it. We were under pressure with our defense in that first half when they went wide, put a lot of width on it. And then on the second half, it felt like they didn't want to take those chances. They almost just went back deep, kicked long, gave us the ball back, and they didn't test us in the second half.
Victor, I think there's two different selection philosophies, and it's very easy after a loss to criticise one and after a win to talk about how good the other one is, because I think they both have their issues. The issue about, Razor being loyal is that some of those guys that come on haven't had any test experience, and it's a hard way to learn, right? You go on as the reserve hooker and you try and throw it to the back instead of having a go-to, right? So my question is this: will Russie change the team now? Or do you think that could be your ideal 15 and you play it through to the next World Cup?
No, he said it. He said it's a squad effort. He said that some of those older guys will get another opportunity. And again, that's what I like. I mean, if you go into a really wet game, this is probably not the backline that you want to pick. You might change a few things up there. But if it's a nice dry day, then there's no one better than Sasha and Amani Libok to come out to play the attacking brand. I mean, they were on the advantage line the whole day, running at it, the little kicks, and I love it. And I think that's what you probably missed with Damian Willemse going to the line, little grubbers through, put the pressure, isolate people at the back. So it's a different game, and I think that's what's nice at the moment, that we can mix it up, and it all depends. If it's a wet game, you can play certain players, and you can change it up. And people struggle to prepare for you as well for a game.
Can I just ask you about, there was a couple of wingers on display playing their first tests. What did you think of Ethan Hooker and
Leroy Carter?
Yeah, what do you think of those two wingers?
Yeah, Carter got his hands on the ball earlier on, and I probably the way he behaved kind of summed up the maybe frustration of a winger who just desperately wants to get his hands on the ball and get settled into his first test match. But he got it at the base of the ruck. He might have picked it actually quick and just stepped 2 or 3 lads, put the afterburners on, and then just little offload. So he looked immediately comfortable in test match rugby. I know he's been tearing it up elsewhere as well, but Hooker, it was slightly more of a traditional test match contribution from a winger, in that he bided his time, he waited for his moment, he got into the air numerous times, worked really hard, and then when the game opened up later on, then he came into it, put the ball into his hands, and he's absolutely deadly. Good footwork, but good, probably more of a sprinter. Just puts the foot down, and he's been tormenting defenders in the URC for a couple of years now. He's been the go-to guy, so it's good to see him getting his opportunity. Yes, he's big, but he's mobile as well. I know you're saying like he'd be probably one of the ones in a wet weather backline, Victor. He's probably one of the ones you'd select. But to be honest, he's got that ability. There's no issue with him at all on a dry ball. He looks just as deadly. So yeah, both of them put their hands up, and both of them performed pretty well in their first opportunity.
Now, there's also another very important rugby competition going on at the moment, the Women's World Cup, and we've just been through the quarterfinal stage. And so New Zealand's still there, but an outstanding performance by South African women, and obviously a really brave performance by the Irish.
I mean, I thought that I think some of the things around the female game just really excites me. Your South African team, Victor, when they came out like singing and stuff, I just think that is what the game needs. It was absolutely amazing. But besides that, I think they're probably one of the most improved side, the South African female side. Gave our girls a run for their money in the first half. I think that, from a New Zealand side, we haven't had a complete performance yet. We've actually started pretty slow in most of the games we've played. But I'm not too concerned about that. I think, now is incredibly difficult to get through. So for me, I think the tournament's been amazing. I think it's been amazing for our game as a whole, especially around the fringes. But some of these teams that we haven't heard of for a bit are just really on the improve. And I don't know, for me, this is what we need to grow our female game. We need these World Cups. So I just think it's been amazing. I think next week's going to be incredible rugby as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah, I
gap
suppose.
between the top four and the other teams are still pretty big. But yeah, we're very proud of our ladies team, what they've done. It was actually so interesting watching that first game, knowing Swayze the Brain really well, one of my first coaches, and working with him with the Lions as well. A guy that really loves his attack and to take it wide and everything. And he just knew we couldn't compete with New Zealand like that. I mean, he went to a 15-man maul, did all these interesting things. But I mean, they stayed in the game, and well done to them. So very proud of our goals. But yeah, I think the real World Cup starts now with the four top teams going at each other.
Yeah, and then Ireland obviously battled really, really, really well against France, and they got that kind of early advantage, 13 points up at half time, winds blowing one direction. So France came back into it, and I think the Irish girls will be kicking themselves. It was a really good opportunity, and I was kind of expecting some quarterfinal banter from you lads, to be honest, because it struck again in a slightly different form. So the men's team's not the only one kind of struggling with that, but yeah, the tournament's been brilliant. The tournament's been high profile, well supported, competitive, but there's concerns there as well. There could be a little bit of a separation, certainly with New Zealand and England. Maybe put Canada into that as well, but yeah, it does feel like they're kind of separate from the rest of the pack. I'm torn on that because England obviously leading the way, and the World Cup in England, that's when they get the crowds and that's when they get the support. And then I just hope that support kind of trickles down to the rest of the competition, because they do look pretty dominant at the minute. But yeah, the Irish girls put their hands up and performed very, very well. And I think that the journey over the last couple of years, maybe similar to South Africa, Victor, since the girls turned professional, they've really ramped up their how competitive they are and how well they execute. So they need to be very proud of themselves.
It's about investment. Just to finish off, Ricardo, it's about investment, and it's about competition. Like, you've got to have a really good competition, and you've got to invest in the game. And I think if you do those two, the improvement is incredible. And I think that we've been investing for a long time, and England have probably invested more in their female game, and rightly so, because they get great crowds and that sort of stuff. So I think the challenge for us going forward, both in our male and female game, is, are our competitions now preparing us for the world stage? I think we need to get rid of Super Rugby from a male point of view, go back to our provincial game, get back to tribalism and traditionalism, let the Australians play with Randwick, Brothers, Manly, and maybe one other, and then we just have a competition like the NRL, because I don't think Super Rugby is now preparing our guys, like the European game is helping South Africa, to play at test level. And so I think we need to look at our competition. If we go through and I think Ricardo brought up a good point. I think this is the most important championship in many years, because everyone's so even. So it's not over yet. South Africa and New Zealand are 1-1. We're 1-1. Everyone's 1-1, right? And so I think it's a great competition. If we don't win this competition, then I think we need to take a look at and have some honest conversations about our high performance, pathways, whether they're the right ones. You'd have to look at South Africa, Trimby, and some of the South African players better than me, because I don't see them anymore, because they're playing in Ireland and playing in Toulouse and playing in places like that, and so I think we need to have a really good high performance discussion if the rest of the tournament doesn't go like we want to. But I also think that the big loss on Sunday needs for all of us to reflect, because if you don't reflect, Victor, and I think this is one of the greatest things about Russie, he's not scared to make some big calls and try different stuff. And we are being a little bit conservative, and we need to have some really high level conversations if we do not win this championship, because it's not acceptable when you're a team like New Zealand.
I think it can be the reason that we're not giving you a hard time about the quarterfinals is that in New Zealand we've just been served quite a major dose of humility. So we're not giving anyone a hard time at the moment. But
I don't, Ricardo, I don't think we're arrogant. I might be, but I don't think the team's arrogant. I don't think the team act arrogant. I think that this is possibly, like I said before, one of the best moments in this squad and this coaching. It's a great lesson. We've got to learn from it. I don't think we went into that game arrogant. I don't think we underestimate, the South Africans. I love it when we win. So I'm going to be vocal about that sort of stuff, just like Victor loves winning, just like Trimby loves winning. But I don't think we got a dose of humility. What we got was a reality check. It's really different. If we were arrogant and we lost that game, I wouldn't be worried at all. But there's some bigger issues, I think, at play that you need to have the courage to talk about.
There's something very that was a joke, was it? Yeah, there was something very impactful, I think, about like the emotional response as well. And we saw that emotional response from South Africa, and whatever about technically preparing around your game strategy, around your execution, all that. Sometimes if you're emotional, it just manifests itself on a scoreboard, winning collisions, and it's a contact game, all that. The only thing is, from my perspective, whatever about the level of humility or arrogance, I don't know if there's, JK, you'll deny it. I would deny it as well. But there's a lot of pride in New Zealand, and I kind of experienced that pride firsthand. And now the All Blacks Ireland rivalry has really only been 9 years old, because we beat them for the first time in Chicago in 2016. And then 2 weeks later, we played them back in Dublin, and I've never seen a team so emotional, so fired up, so kind of hell-bent on proving a point. We got assaulted when we got back to Dublin 2 weeks later. And that it's just that response that you get. South Africa, we got that a little bit from the weekend after the week before. I hope Australia take the brunt of that New Zealand assault over the next couple of weeks. Because if they don't get it, then Ireland will get it in Chicago at the start of November again. And I'm seeing all of this conversation through Irish eyes, and that makes me concerned. That makes me think that New Zealand are extremely dangerous. That being said, the Rugby Championship has absolutely delivered this year, lads. It's been incredible. That's that's coming from someone who's a Six Nations snob. I feel like Six Nations is the yardstick by which, yes, maybe the level of rugby mightn't be probably quite as good, or certainly slightly different, but in terms of commercially, the occasion, everything that goes with it, there's a prestige to it, and it seems higher profile anyway, maybe because I live in this part of the world. But the fact that we're sitting on Australia 11 points, South Africa, New Zealand 10 points, Argentina 9 points, it's all up for grabs. And for me, who would have thought before that Lions tour, maybe after that first Lions test match against Australia, I think Australia could win this Rugby Championship. They're sitting on 11 points. It's going to come down to bonus points. If they get a win at home in New Zealand, they pick up a bonus point away. Maybe that might be enough, because I think Argentina are absolutely firing as well, and they might pick off a win against South Africa in Argentina. A lot to discuss, lads, and we might only have 5 minutes left, and I've thrown shitloads at you there. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about it next week, but I'm with Trimby. All of a sudden, I'm a New Zealand supporter. We can't let Australia win this competition, so we need the All Blacks to get back to their best. And, South Africa got 2 huge test matches there. I think, we said it last week, I think Argentina is probably the best attacking side in the world at the moment. And we need to play them twice. We're playing them in Durban, where we don't have the best record. It's probably like Wellington for New Zealand is Durban for the Springboks. And then we're going to Twickenham. Luckily, we don't play them in Argentina, so that might help us a little bit. But, it's going to be 2 huge test matches. And I think all of a sudden the Bledisloe Cup's alive as well. So that's good that's back as well, because in the last few years, Australia weren't very competitive.
JK, we opened with your video to Victor, which we put on social media, and it's gone close to 2 million views. I thought just a great way to finish with maybe some of the really nice, gentle responses from people to that particular video. A person called Francois, it's cute how you link the glasses you wear to your confidence level. Reminds me of my niece in kindergarten. Then we've got someone, the All Blacks must have been poisoned again. Then we got someone saying, doesn't he look a lot like Mrs. Doubtfire? Which, yeah, that's probably true. There's about 1,000 comments, and I'd say 999 are probably not on your side, JK.
Yeah, but listen, this is what I love about our game. I love all those people. I think that's what Rivals is about. Like, I just love New Zealand. I love the All Blacks. We win the champions. Tremby was talking shit, and I can't wait to go and drink a bloody whatever this shit is. What is this again? Whatever
and
that
Tremby is very quiet. We're going to the Northern Hemisphere at the end of the year.
We're coming, brother.
We'll get stuck into you as well. It's coming.
And then Victor and I, we love each other again, and we're coming for you, mate. Chicago, like we're coming. But Ricardo,
Southern Hemisphere versus Northern Hemisphere.
That is the beauty of our game, mate. Like, if you go to London, it's like a second Joburg. There's going to be more people in the stand with bloody South African jerseys on. But we sit next to each other. That's the beauty of this game. The reason why we can do this is because we have utmost respect for people. So I love the banter, you know. And like I always say to you, Ricardo, gentlemen online, leave the fashion to me, all right? I'll show you what fashion is.
Yeah. I'm loving the banter, lads, when I've got no skin in the game. When I got skin in the game in November.
We're coming for your skin, mate. We're coming for your skin.
I know. Look forward to it, lads. I might actually take a little bit of a break over November, lads, and just see you at Christmas, yeah? Depending how it goes.
Talking about an aging team, JK, Ireland. Definitely aging.
Oh, way past their use by day, mate. Way past. Yeah. Way past, brother. Yeah.
I went too hard. I've just united you two accidentally, haven't I?
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Thanks, Trimby. All right, let's go. Go and drink some of that brandy and Coke. Victor, you can celebrate. JK, you can commiserate. And Trimby, you can just keep bringing the two nations of New Zealand, South Africa together. Thank you so much.
I'm excited.
I might get a Nobel Peace Prize for bringing you two nations together.
I'm excited, mate. The greatest thing to happen. This is the best thing to happen to the All Blacks for a long, long time.
Hope that ages as well. Hope that ages as well as the 10-0 video.
Yeah.